Welcome everyone to your favorite comic book show online, The Next Issue. I'm your host, The Power Trip, and today we start the countdown to DragonCon. Now, why a countdown to DragonCon, you may ask? Well, if you're anything like me, you love comic books, one of your favorite things is conventions. And one of your favorite things to do at conventions? Why, dress up as your favorite comic book character, of course. So over the course of the next month, I'm going to be giving you some ideas and suggestions for costumes that you can do at this coming DragonCon, as well as future conventions you may go to. Today's episode, the theme is alternatives. Alternatives to popular characters that you may see 1,000 of at every convention you go to. Take, for example, Harley Quinn. Between Suicide Squad, the Arkham games, and her popularity in the comics just exploding, well, for my suggestion to an alternate outfit this time around, not really an alternate outfit per se, but an alternate character to Harley. Say you want to dress up as something like Harley or similar to Harley, but not just be another one of the thousands of Harleys everywhere. My suggestion for an alternate would be Dula Dent, the Joker's daughter from an alternate Earth. Actually, technically, the Jokester's daughter from Earth 3. But since this is going to be a show about different alternative outfits, I'm only going to be giving a brief history of each character. That way I can fit more ideas in. Now, the Joker's daughter isn't really the Joker's daughter. Her history is very convoluted. We'll get into that another time. But she does capture the essence of what the Joker slash Jokester's daughter would be. And she's a fun alternative costume to use if, once again, you don't want to be one of the millions of Harleys you see at any convention. The two examples you see here are going to be from Countdown to Final Crisis, which was the normal DC continuity version of Dula, as well as the Amikami version, which is where DC reimagined a lot of their heroines as anime-ish style, even gender bending a few of them for, well, obvious reasons for sales. Another one you see a lot of is Power Girl. And for today's alternative suggestion to Power Girl, I want to give you another strong female character that at least I personally don't see a whole lot of everywhere. And that's She-Hulk, the sensational She-Hulk, actually. Right now her popularity is, well, gaining, actually, as she's the lead character of the current book, A-Force, an all-female Avengers team set during Secret Wars in the Marvel continuity. This character, very much a very strong female role model. Not only has she got, well, brute strength of the Hulk, but her personal alter ego is, well, a lawyer. And, I mean, she's brilliant. Brilliant, strong, very inspirational. A great character to actually portray. If, once again, you want a strong character to be, but you don't want to be one of the hundreds of Power Girls you see everywhere. Now, Dula and She-Hulk do both pose a different kind of problem. I know this video is only about a month behind DragonCon, so for a character like Dula, you might have a harder time piecing together an outfit. I might actually suggest looking online, finding a place or a costumer that can make or sell these outfits for you. She-Hulk, a little easier, but still, a lot of people don't really like to do the body paint thing. Personally, I think if done right, it looks really good. I'm a very big continuity nut myself, so I like a character to really look the part. For She-Hulk and Dula, both of them actually do require paint. Dula not so much, since she wears a lot more clothing than She-Hulk does. If you don't mind the body paint, might I also make a suggestion of Starfire. Starfire's actually a pretty popular character, but you still don't see her that often. Why? Because a lot of people, once again, not a fan of the body paint. A lot of makeup, a lot of coverage that they have to do with that, since Starfire doesn't wear as much clothing. But it's still a good alternative if you're not wanting to be one in a million, or if you want to be one in a million, but you're not wanting to be just blending into a crowd of Power Girls, Harleys, and whatnot. Now, for the men out there, we all know Arkham Knight just came out. We've got Batman vs. Superman coming up soon. There's going to be a lot of Batman costumes. For a good alternative, one of my personal favorites would be Azrael Batman. You don't even really have to be one of the big armor mech suit cosplayers to put this together. It does take some more work, but not quite the degree you would think of for anyone that's ever seen it, like some of these conventions online and seen Iron Man and, big mech Spider-Man and all this kind of stuff anywhere, or Optimus Prime walking around. You don't really have to go into all the metal smithing or heavy plastic duty stuff to do with that. You can actually put together a pretty good Azrael Batman with cheaper supplies. If you do want to go for a more traditional Batman, but not Bruce Wayne, might I suggest the Prodigal Son storyline from the Batman arc. That had the Dick Grayson Batman. Still looked a little bit more like the Bruce Wayne Batman, but definitely a lighter hearted. You can see in the costume lighter colors. Now, for any of you also not familiar with it, like I said, I do a slight brief history. Dick Grayson, the original Robin, once Nightwing, also took over the mantle of the Bat, as he's done several times, but Prodigal was the first. It was right after the storyline that actually introduced Azrael Batman, whereas Azrael, Jean-Paul Valley, as his actual name was, took over after the villain Bane broke Bruce Wayne's back. Now, Azrael Batman's more of an armored-up tank of a Batman, whereas, like I said, Prodigal Son, Dick Grayson Batman is more your classic. He's just lighthearted because he's not as dark as Bruce. But definitely a fun character to portray. Now, once again, like I mentioned, the Batman v Superman movie coming up. That means Superman is going to be probably taking off a little bit more. Some alternatives to Superman, mind you. I would actually suggest the Cyborg Superman, if you're gutsy enough, you have the time and everything. I definitely don't see him around almost at all myself. A good one from the 90s. The Cyborg Superman, the Eradicator Superman, and the Connor Kent Superboy from the 90s. All three of these characters, as well as Steel, but that's if you're really wanting to go out of your way to really make something, if it doesn't look all metal, is all metal. That is a walking suit of armor there. But these four Supermen took over when Superman was killed by Doomsday, back in the very popular Death of Superman storyline. All four of these are fun alternatives. Once again, I personally think Steel is probably your most advanced one out of these outfits for very obvious reasons. You are definitely making some armor there, whether it just looks like armor or is armor. Both of those are going to be a project, and I don't know if that would be one you could take in the course of a month. Connor is a little easier. Heck, some of his stuff you can probably just get at a Goodwill, namely the leather jacket that you just knit in the Superboy logo on the back with, as well as the Superman shirt that he has tucked in. Now, the red spandex pants, that one may be a little harder for you to get, as well as anyone that's brave enough to take on that haircut. Eradicator Superman and Cyborg Superman. The Cyborg Superman doesn't have quite as much mech to him. In fact, a lot of that you can do is makeup, since a lot of that's on the face and the arms. You could make a glove, per se, for the cybernetics and a cybernetic-looking boot, but everything else can just blend in with the costume. The Eradicator Superman is probably the easiest. He just has a different-looking Superman costume with a cape and some, well, what looks more like safety goggles and sunglasses. These four characters are my alternatives I'd pick to Superman. One other alternative to both Superman and Batman I'm going to list today, but it's more of one of what I want to say is a group cosplay, if there's a group of you, is the new Crime Syndicate. So you get Owlman and Ultraman as your Batman and Superman alternatives, but you also have Superwoman, Johnny Flash, Deathstorm, and Power Ring. These characters, make up the alternate universe evil versions of the Justice League. And once again, characters you don't see at conventions very often. Even when Forever Evil, the storyline that introduced him to the New 52 currently going on, even when that came about, you still didn't see them that much. Because the characters just, while a lot of people like them, a lot of people jump into wanting to do whatever the big thing is right now. But they're still fun characters to be able to get to cosplay, especially Owlman. Owlman's probably the big one you would see out of that group if you see any of them at a con at all. Now my next suggestions are actually going to be more for those who not just like to do the costuming like a normal costume, but maybe closer to the fursuit variety. These two suggestions I have for you, sometimes you'll see a generic fursuit at any convention. And a lot of the times you'll see, say, Sonic the Hedgehog. But if you're really going to reach out there, might I suggest one of my personal favorites, Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog was actually, I won't say the first hedgehog rival to Sonic, though he was the first living hedgehog rival to Sonic. The first one actually being Dr. Robotnik's evil Sonic Zero, or Robotic Sonic, I can't remember his name. But Shadow is basically the anti-hero version of Sonic, a darker Sonic. And, well, like I said, I really love this character. You can see that he's already made his comic book appearances, which is one of the main reasons why I throw him out there as my suggestions. While I did love playing him in the games, his comic book appearances are amazing. But if you're looking for like I said, something closer to, if not a fursuit variety costume, Shadow the Hedgehog is definitely one of the ones I would send up there, including if you wanted to go all out, his Super Shadow form. Now, for a little bit more of the female variety of fursuit, might I suggest from my old favorite series, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it would be Ninjara, Raphael's girlfriend from the series. She's mostly been popular in the early to mid 90s, not just being in the Ninja Turtle series, but she actually got used in a few fursuit articles or something later on, if I remember. I mostly picked up on her in the Ninja Turtle series myself, but she was a great character introduced in the series, at first as a villain and then turned hero as Raphael's girlfriend. But she's definitely a fun character to get into with that. Now, once again, for those of you who are really wanting to take the risk, if you have the time, since it's a month out there, might I suggest either Mega Man X or Zero from the Mega Man X series. These characters are some fun-looking characters, especially if you're really good at getting the light-up parts of the suit, like the blaster and the gem in the forehead, and possibly even Zero's sword. But once again, like Steel, which I suggested earlier for an alternate for Superman, you really gotta know your armor and mech costuming skills. That's not to say it's impossible, but it's definitely an alternative. I think I remember over the last few Dragon Cons I've been to only seeing maybe one Mega Man out there, but still not an X. And X was my personal favorite. Once again, for anyone that I'm making these suggestions to out there for the con, you don't have to make these outfits, obviously. You can very much find people online that can sell and make these for you. Now, I'm going to wrap this up with one last suggestion. Actually, a couple last suggestions, but one last category. Why, the kids, of course. Kids love dressing up in costumes, whether it's Halloween or a convention. And the two suggestions I'm going to give you today are the ever-popular Teen Titans Go. Their comic book series and cartoon are actually really good if you've not either watched or read them. But they've been popular for a long time now, and very fun characters to do cosplaying for the kids. The other one's a little lesser known, actually, which fits with the theme of this video, and that would be the Power Pack. The Power Pack is Marvel's version of some kid heroes that have actually been around for a while, but the particular ones I'm suggesting were a fun little series back in the early, oh no, actually around 2007, 2006. These kid heroes were experimented on by aliens and got superpowers from it. And if you've never read one of their mini-series from around the 2005 to 2000 range, you're missing out. It's a fun series, really fun. Very, very much age E for everyone, but definitely a fun series. And very fun costumes, and as you can see, very easy to make or have someone make for you. They're not a huge deal in the whole, the kid has to have, armor or helmets or anything like that. Your child could be just wearing one piece suit and still be in costume with this. Now, August this year actually has, I think it's 5 Saturdays, 5 Fridays. All I know is it's a very long month, so we're going to be getting in a lot of suggestions for costumes this month. I hope my episode of alternatives to popular outfits has been very helpful and maybe even kickstarted you guys into getting ready for Dragon Con this year. Just be ready for next week when I come at you with some more suggestions over the course of this whole month, actually. Just be ready for the next issue.